This rich guy met this stranger on the street. He liked her and then invited her over to his house. They both got attracted to each other and then went to the bedroom to have fun. She slept over at his house until the following morning. So, the rich guy left her and went out for an important meeting. The stranger realized that she was alone at home, so she took her chances to steal his money, his expensive wristwatch and perfumes. She then went to the refrigerator in the kitchen to steal all his food items, already prepared meals, drinks, and electronics in the kitchen. She then called a cabman so she could also carry the television in the guest room. She got home and then invited her childhood friend to celebrate with her for a successful operation with one of the expensive drinks she stole, until she realized that she had been traced and arrested. But what happened after her arrest is what you need to find out. Harriet is a street girl and sometimes helps her father in his mechanic workshop. Kemer, who is her childhood friend, came around to tell her about a new lounge he wanted them to go have fun later at night. They came to the new lounge that night and found out that their drinks were very expensive, so Harriet went out to get a cheaper one outside when Solomon and his friend Albert approached her. Solomon then collected her number and promised to call her. Days later, Solomon made a huge deal from one of his biggest clients as an automobile dealer. This calls for a big celebration, but Albert was out of town, so he called Harriet on the phone, who was in her father's workshop with Kemer. Harriet told him that she was fixing her car when he asked her what she was up to, so he invited her for dinner, and she accepted to come to his house. Solomon sent her his address, and she was right at his doorstep. They both stayed up late in the living room and watched a romantic movie together that made the moment. Solomon then tried his luck and kissed her. He was surprised when Harriet asked that they should go inside to have fun. Harriet spent the night in his house. She woke up and saw that he already made breakfast and a note by the side that he had left for work. Just then, she heard the doorbell. She went for the door to find a delivery man with a package. Harriet went inside and opened the gift, and it was Solomon who got her a brand new iPhone. Harriet realized that this guy was loaded with money, so the next thing that came to her mind was to steal anything that she could lay her hands on and leave his house. From his bedroom to his kitchen, where she packed all the food items from the refrigerator and kitchen electronics that are easy to carry. She then called a cabman who was already around to help her carry the television from the guest room. Meanwhile, Solomon was in his office with Albert, who came to visit him after his return. Solomon told him everything that happened between him and Harriet on the first date. At some point, Albert was beginning to suspect that Harriet could be a prostitute in a disguised form, but Solomon disapproved of Albert's opinion about Harriet at that instance, and then told him that he knows a good girl when he sees one. Solomon found his house in a mess when he got back. His gate man confirmed that the lady he kept in his house left with many items after she tipped him with a little cash. At that time, Harriet had invited Kemer to celebrate with her. Harriet was still explaining to him how she had a successful operation when she heard the door. Solomon had already alerted the police, so Harriet was traced and arrested. Solomon then got a call from the police officers that Harriet had been arrested. He asked the officers to make sure she provided everything she stole from him before she was released. The police had to release Harriet after several days. They realized that she couldn't provide the items that she stole. So, Solomon brought a paper for her to sign that she will pay everything she stole, which cost $20,000 for his expensive watch she stole. Harriet told him to be merciful because she sold the watch for 10,000 naira. But she had no choice than to sign the papers, or she returned back to prison. Harriet then requested that she could work for him for free as his driver until her debt was cleared. Solomon then thought about it, and then had to give her a chance. Her first day on duty as his driver was hectic with her street behavior, but Solomon had to manage with her since it was the only way to get his money without much stress. Harriet was going back home to retire after a long day. Solomon stopped her, and then told her to sleep in the visitor's room because it was late for her to go home. He then remembered before leaving and told her that if she likes, she can go away with his laptop and television before he wakes up tomorrow, and then went to his bedroom. Harriet saw the need to move into her new boss's house since he mostly comes back home after work very late. Kemer was already missing his childhood friend who makes him happy, so he cried profusely to let her know how he feels. Harriet became more comfortable in her boss's house with excess to drink and to eat, that she barely wakes up early. Solomon was ready to go to work the following morning, but found out that she was still deep asleep with several taps on her shoulder. So he went close to check her heartbeat to receive a very hot slap from her. Harriet apologized and told her boss that she thought it was a dream. So, she reached out for a relief balm, and then she applied it on his face. Solomon felt her gentle and careful touch that eased his tension, and yet carried a quiet sincerity that he felt instantly. Solomon tried not to fall for her again, so he left for work. All this while, Harriet and Kemer had been trying to get back Solomon's expensive wristwatch they sold for a cheap price. So Kemer called her with the good news that he had collected back the wristwatch. She came out later that morning to find a package at her door. Solomon had an important event he wanted to attend, so he asked Harriet to be his guest for the event as married couples to get the connections he wanted. Harriet came out and looked very different from the regular girl he knows. Not only that, Harriet speaks very good English aside from her usual street accent that makes her look like a street girl. They came back from the event and Solomon was glad that she played her roles perfectly as a well-mannered and cultured lady. He then later wanted to know her more, Harriet to him, about her family background and how her rich father got into debt by trusting friends. He was arrested and then released on the condition that he paid the money bit by bit, and until today, he is still paying his debt. Solomon felt her pain from her story, so he told her that he forgives her for all she stole from him and she is no longer indebted to him, and he loves her. Harriet was grateful to him and had to go pack her belongings just to be sure that she was free, and then left his house and did not return to him for a while. One day, Solomon was in the negotiation process of trying to make a good deal by convincing a client to buy a car. Harriet came to return his expensive wristwatch and then noticed what was going on, so she walked in confidently to tell Solomon that a client of hers had already bought the car. The client noticed how expensive her wristwatch was and then complimented her. He saw that he was about to lose the car, so he accepted to pay for the car without further bargains. Solomon was marveled that he made a huge deal from the business with the help of Harriet. She told him that she used her street mentality when she noticed that the customer was not willing to buy, and with the help of his wristwatch she came to return back to him. The client was convinced that Harriet is well-to-do. Solomon thanked her and then went in to meet with his client. It's been 1 year now, and ever since then, their relationship became stronger as lovers. Harriet then received an emergency phone call from her father that his debt had been paid, so she rushed home to know who the Good Samaritan was. Solomon had to follow her, but it was meant to be a surprise when she found out that Solomon had paid her father's debt. Solomon also used the opportunity to propose to her to be his wife, and she accepted his proposal. So guys, what are your thoughts about the movie, A Ride Forever? Please comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching this movie recap. Please comment your thoughts and also like and share this video for more super amazing videos that we're bringing to you. And if you're watching from our YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification for more. Thank you.